Upgrading your mindset is essential for personal, business, and spiritual growth. Hi, I'm Dr. Tiffany, and on this channel, I encourage you to live bolder, dream bigger, and build businesses that honor God. Today, we're going to dive deeply into changing our mindset. And of course, we're going to use scripture to bring this idea alive to you. And I hope that as we move further into our discussion, that you get value from it. And if you do, don't forget to like, share, and click the subscribe button. So let's talk about mindset. A mindset is a set of beliefs or attitudes that you see the world through. Today, we're going to dig deep, really deep, and uncover what is holding up, propping up those limiting beliefs. So get ready, we're digging in. In Luke chapter 5, somewhere around verse 36, 37, 38, we see a conversation between Jesus and the disciples. It's a really interesting conversation. The disciples want to know, okay, John's disciples are fasting and the Pharisees' disciples are fasting, but we're not fasting. And Jesus gives them a really interesting response. He brings up a wedding and a bridegroom. And he says, well, when the bridegroom is with you, do you prohibit these individuals from eating? Another way of saying that is, when you're at a wedding, do you not eat? Well, when the bridegroom is gone, then you can fast. Then he moves into a parable, and he's talking about not attaching a new garment to an old garment, because if you attach them, the new garment is going to be torn and not be useful, and it's going to tear the old, and that's not going to be useful. Then he talks about wine and wineskins, not putting old wine in a new wineskin, because if you do that, the new wine is going to make the wineskin burst. And I began to think about that parable, and I was like, from a mindset perspective, how does that apply? How can I apply what Jesus is talking about in Luke chapter 5 to my business? And on the outset, you could say, oh, it's really not related. Then I started thinking, it really is related. Let's talk about the ways in which it's related. When you're presented with new ideas, new business opportunities, ways of making money, right? Ways of changing your family's situation, you might get super excited. You might say, oh, I can see this happening. I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to step out. I'm going to get the training. I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to get the coaching. I'm going to hire this person. I'm going to do all of these things. And then you sit on it for a little while. But before you know it, you don't make a move. Or maybe you start, but you don't continue for whatever reason, right? Well, what's really happening? Are you attaching a new way of approaching something? Are you looking at a new, are you taking a new idea and you are trying to fix an old situation, but in trying to fix that old situation, you never deal with the script that's running in your background, in your mind? Everything that we have because we view the world a particular way. We do things in a certain manner, right? That's all connected to our mindset. Well, if I take new ideas and I attach it to an old way of thinking, there's going to be a malfunction, right? I've heard it described as adding new software to an old operating system. I've heard it as, I've heard it in a number of different ways. But when I thought about it, I realized if we go with the idea of technology, at some point, there's just no upgrades that's going to upgrade that first series iPhone to do what the iPhone 16 can do now. It just isn't going to happen, right? There's no amount of update on our technology before we just come to a point where we have to upgrade the whole device altogether. Then I started thinking about what Jesus said about the wineskin, new wine and old wine skin. And in my mind, I thought about a box, an old ratty box. And I thought about trying to put something in that box that I want to preserve and move it from one place to the other. And I realized the weight of the idea, the depth of the idea, the depth of the thing that I put in that old ratty box, that box simply can't contain it. It's going to give way. Why? Because it's old, it's worn out, it's been used over and over and over and over again, and it just doesn't have the capacity to stand up under the weight that these items that are very valuable contain. And then Jesus goes on to say, not only does that old wineskin not have the ability to contain the new wine, but it's actually going to burst and the new wine would be good for nothing. And I said, oh my goodness, this is what's happening when I'm confronted with a business idea and I get super excited and I go for it and then I stop and I retreat. What's happening is, and it's not just happening to me, it's happening to you, right? It happens until we recognize the bigger picture, the bigger thing that's occurring. What's the bigger thing that's occurring? You're taking a new, novel approach, an idea, and you're sticking it in an old paradigm. You're putting it in an old casing. And it becomes good for nothing because that old paradigm simply can't hold it. It simply can't contain it. So I have some notes that I wrote down, and because I want to make sure that I get out all of my ideas. I don't want to start rambling on. But when you think about trying to update your phone, right? Sometimes it's a space issue. Sometimes it's, you're trying to update that 64 gig, but you really know you need to go to 258 or whatever the new thing is, right? And then at some point, it's like, ooh, this phone just simply can't do what these other phones out here can do. And I need to upgrade the entire device. I need to get rid of, what do we say? We need to get rid of the old container. And when it comes to mindset, the old mindset. We can't just update it. We can't just introduce new information, but we actually have to do the work of removing the old mindset. Why? Because the old mindset will continue to pull you back to the old way of doing things. And the idea that you're going to get something new doing the same old thing over and over and over again, I believe I've heard that called insanity. And we're not trying to do insanity, right? We're trying to change our lives. We're trying to change the trajectory of the financial future of our families. So if that's the case, then we have to do the work of digging out that old mindset. But when I was thinking about this, I was like, well, why wouldn't I want to do the work of changing the mindset? Why would I want to hold to an old way of doing things, right? And so before I even get into that, let's just talk about some things or some examples, right, of that new idea or that new mindset. The first one I thought about was starting a new diet, right? Because sometimes we try to make surface level life changes, and it don't quite pan out. You know what I'm talking about. Come January 1, you had a whole idea. You ran off to the gym. You paid all this money. And by January 15th, you wasn't at the gym anymore. We didn't even hold out an entire month. We're aware of that, right? But starting a new diet without dealing with the emotional reasons why I eat, that's a new idea in an old paradigm. What's causing me to run to those salty chips at night or whatever my thing is, right? I like sweets and salt, sweet treats and salty treats, right? Doesn't matter. But what is driving me to run after those snacks? If I don't deal with that part, no amount of going to the gym is going to sustain. I'm not going to get the change that I want. I might do it temporarily. I might put the effort in for a little while, but it doesn't sustain. Another example I thought about was positive thinking, right? Everyone wants to think positively. I'm just going to have a positive outlook. But if you don't deal with the self-deprecating, self-doubt ideas, self-doubt, um, uh, internal monologue that goes on, no amount of positive thinking is going to take root. Why? Because the thing that is that you're putting the new idea of positive talk into hasn't been dealt with. And what is that thing? It could be self-doubt. Another idea that I was thinking about is, or another example of this would be improving relationships, right? I'm going to be more agreeable. Okay, that's great. I'm not saying that being agreeable isn't something that you shouldn't want to be, right? But if I don't deal with my past hurts, if I don't deal with my past traumas, I'm not going to be agreeable for but so long. Why? Because somebody's going to say something, do something, I'm going to smell something that's going to trigger an old trauma, trigger an old thought, and before I know it, my wineskin burst. My wine is no good. Because it is great to think positively. Another example of this is starting a business. But if you, this is so good. If you have the idea to start a new business, but you don't deal with scarcity mindset, then the idea of starting a new business is going to always come into conflict with this idea of there isn't enough for me, right? And so here are these examples of, ideas in which we can take on a new thought. But with each example, I gave you a paradigm in which if it's not dealt with, it becomes an issue. And that great new thing, guess what? It doesn't last. Okay, so why in the world would someone not want to deal with the old mindset? Sometimes it's simple lack of awareness. Maybe you just aren't even aware that you're running a script against the new thing that you say you want. Or perhaps you desire quick fixes, right? So you run after the quick fix. Well, that's nice, but it prevents you from dealing with the underlying issues. Or what about fear of facing deep issues? I don't want to deal with the emotional trauma of why I'm not agreeable. I don't want to deal with why I have self-deprecating, self-sabotaging behaviors. I don't want to deal with those things that are going to mess with me emotionally. I don't like to cry. What about societal pressures and the appearance, right? So we want the appearance of looking like we're successful, but we don't do the work necessarily to be successful. So we have all of this doing and not enough being. Who do I need to become in order to have success? What about this one? That change is external. Well, if I just change the way I do this, then I'll get the desired outcome. Doesn't work that way. Why? Because change is internal. Mindset is internal. And so when you begin to deal with the internal script that's running, programming that's running, wineskin, paradigm, whatever you want to call it, until we handle that, deal with that, and face that thing head on, whatever it is, we will be stuck, we will remain stuck in an old mindset, always with a new idea, but never executing. I've been a victim of that, right? I've experienced that. So I'm talking from a place of, from experience. But I also know that when you begin to do the work, when you begin to face the traumas, when you begin to bring light to the areas in which are not so pleasant, and sometimes that's with needing help. Sometimes it's with therapy. Sometimes it's with coaching. Sometimes it's having a great mentor. Whatever it is, once you bring light to that thing, you can begin to move toward the new ideas that you're saying that you want, move toward those trajectories that you're saying you desire for yourself and for your family. So, how do we upgrade to this new mindset, right? Well, you got to renew your mind. Now, you know I'm going to throw this Bible at you. I sure am. But you might not say, you might be saying, but you know what, Dr. Tiffany, I don't believe in the Bible. And that's fine. I'm not going to try to make you believe in the Bible, but know that you will never get me to not believe in the Bible, right? So the Bible says that we need to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. That's in Romans, I believe it's chapter 12. That we can be transformed by the renewing of our mind. We have to renew our mind. What does that look like? That means we need to come into a stark disagreement with all of the ideas that are not serving our lives. It's not serving our personal life. It's not serving our financial life. It's not servicing our business life. It's not servicing our family. Our spiritual growth is hindered. I mean, it's just messing with us all the way around. Sometimes we just have to be brutally honest and take the axe to the root of the tree, cut that bad boy down, uproot that thing, and plant a new seed. That's what I'm talking about today. Today I'm talking about we need to change our operating system. We need to renew our mind. How do we do that? We have to identify our limiting beliefs. Do you believe that there is scarcity? Do you believe that there isn't enough money to go around? Do you believe that all of the rich people have all the money? Do you believe that the rich are getting richer because the poor are getting poorer? Do you believe that? Right? Only you can answer that. I know what I believe. I believe that there's more than enough. I serve a God that is abundant. I serve a God that is the God of more than enough. I truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that. What do you believe? What is your mindset pushing you toward? And then you got to embrace the change, baby. You have to embrace the change. Enjoy the ride. Why? Because we only do this one time. How long are you going to stay stuck? How many videos are you going to watch before you decide to do something about where you are? I hope this is the last video that you watch with regards to being stuck and changing your mindset. Listen, there's a spot in the description where you could book a call and we could have a conversation. We could do that, right? That is one way that I serve people. Embrace the change. Ride the wave. Enjoy the rest of your life. You know, it's funny. I believe it was Maya Angelou who said, if you don't like the road you're on, get on a new road. Something along those lines. Could have been Dolly Parton. Something along the lines of, if you don't like what you have, change it. I agree with that. If you don't like what you have, change it. And if you can't seem to change it, you got to get a new attitude about it. But I will go on further to say that where there's a will, there's a way. But when you can't find that way, build it. Make it, create it. Why? There's always a way. You do not have to stay stuck. Stuck is a choice, my friend. And if you want to become unstuck, then you have to make another choice. So if this content resonates with you, please like, share, subscribe, send it to someone who you know could benefit from what I talked about today, and know that there is assistance out there for you. So my offer, and I don't offer it too much, right? I don't talk about it a lot. But if you are needing to get clarity, get unstuck, I run a course. I would love to chat with you. What I have may serve you. We can talk about it. You can let me know. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you. Bye for now.